Hi, welcome everyone. I'm Melissa Goodstein, and I'm the president of the New York Association of Collaborative Professionals, and I really welcome all of you to my collaborative chat series. And today I have the pleasure of chatting with Margaret Nicholson. Margaret Nicholson is an attorney and a mediator practicing in Northern Westchester and has been a long-standing member of NYACP. And welcome, Margaret.
Oh, thank you, Melissa. It's wonderful to see you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, Margaret, can you tell me a little bit about your family and where you grew up?
Sure. I grew up on Staten Island.
Oh,
I'm sure most of the people in this organization are familiar with that borough of the city.
right.
I was raised in a pretty happy household with a mom who was a pretty extraordinary woman who was actually a role model for me. My mom was a volunteer in the community, did a lot of work for the Staten Island Hospital, ran the gift shop there, was involved with the Democratic Club, doing just a lot of volunteering in various organizations on Staten Island as a stay-at-home mom. Um, she, well, there's a lot to say, but she actually in 1973, through her connections with the Democratic Club, was asked to run for New York State Assembly. There was a long held position that was being vacated by the current assemblyman who had been in office probably for, I forget how many years, at least 20, and he was
Wow.
being appointed as a judge, and they were holding a special election, and he was a Republican, and they thought, well, we're never going to win the seat because, Republicans are going to, prevail again. But I guess we joke and say they looked at my mother as kind of they were just putting her up there because nobody else wanted to do it. And they thought, let's try a woman and see what happens. And she took it very seriously and ran for office and actually won the election.
Oh,
So that started her career in 1973, and she ended up remaining in office, being reelected every 2 years for 27 years.
my God.
And she
Wow.
retired in the year 2000. And during that time, she was able to actually use her office to kind of promote things that were very important to her, one of them being mental health. She eventually became the chairwoman of the Mental Health Retardation, Alcohol and Substance Abuse Committee. That's what it was called at the time.
Yeah.
And did a lot of advocacy for the local special needs organizations. We actually had a family history. I think that was part of what prompted her. My dad's mom was mentally ill, as was his sister,
Oh,
both having been institutionalized, which was very sad. I mean, both my parents had tough upbringings. My mom was raised by a single mom in the Bronx, lived on the concourse in her grandparents' apartment. That's where she grew up. Um,
wow.
and her mom, um, was worked all during that period. My mom did not go to college, neither did my dad. They met working for Pan Am in the city,
Oh,
um, and ended up, deciding to raise their kids and start a family on Staten Island, which was a big adjustment, my mother said, because she didn't have a driver's license growing up in the Bronx, and she thought she was moving to the boonies, uh, as she called it. But
it's nice.
she was a great role model. She became Speaker pro tem of the New York State Assembly. At the time she got elected, I think there were three women out of 150.
Wow.
Um, so, I always looked up to her as, wow, this is really, cool. And when I went to college at SUNY Albany, I would come over I would come over to the Capitol and just sit next to her at her desk while they were debating bills and just watch the whole process. So it was a great inspiration for me. And little did I actually appreciate the experience I was having. I would go into the back of the chambers and the sergeant at arms would see me and come over. They always knew who I was and would walk me over to her desk where she'd be sitting and sometimes getting up to debate. And it was pretty cool. So
Wow.
that was a big influence, I think, on my decision to go to law school and kind of start my own way of advocating for other people.
Wow.
Um,
Wow. She sounded like just a terrific mom and a role model to really guide you in your career path and supporting you. That's amazing.
she was, and
Yeah. So in terms of how did you get into, were you ever interested in politics? Because you're now, tell me a little bit about how you got into the family and divorce area, more particularly also collaborative divorce.
It's funny because politics, after seeing what some of these elections, they weren't anything like we see today, thank goodness.
Yeah.
People actually worked together back then, and different parties. And the state senator was a Republican, but my parents and he and his wife would go out to dinner together. That they were just friends, and they would advocate for their constituents and work across the aisle, as they say. But just looking at politics and being involved as a kid and being in the newspaper a lot and everybody knowing who your mom was, I didn't really want to run for office. I was kind of a quieter type of person. So, but I really was interested in law school, which has got me into sort of a funny, circuitous way of getting into family law, because when I went to St. John's, um, I said to myself, I don't want to take family law. That's going to be really tough. That's not me. I'd rather do, some other kind of like real estate or what have you. So I didn't do that. I met my husband at St. John's in law school, and then we got married right after we graduated, and lo and behold, had a baby within like a year later. So
Wait,
it
while
kind
you
of,
were in law school?
excuse me?
While you were in
Oh,
law
no, 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 right after. We got married right after. Right
school?
after we graduated in June. I think we got admitted in January and married in March. So
Oh my
um,
God. Wow.
it was a whirlwind. And then I found out in May that I was pregnant. So that kind of turned my whole career path a little bit upside down.
Right.
I had been working during law school, and actually at that time as an associate for an attorney on Staten Island, who subsequently became a judge. A nice, very nice man, a Republican who actually ran against my mother, and she had defeated him at one point, but he still hired me.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Tony Giacobbe, his name was, very nice man. And anyway, once I had my son, I ended up ultimately deciding to stay home. At the time, I wasn't making a ton of money, and childcare was expensive, and my husband was working in Manhattan. So I took time off to raise my kids for a while. I did do some side jobs in the legal field, and I wrote for a women's magazine. I wrote a legal column for First for Women. You may see it
Oh,
on the
yes, yes,
newsstands in the
yes.
grocery store.
Oh, wow.
And I did that for about 12 years.
How did you get into that?
It was funny. I actually have one of my husband's friends at work. I don't know how he knew I liked to write, but he asked me if I'd be interested. And we were talking one night, and he had previously worked for the magazine before he became an attorney, and he connected me with the editor, and I ended up getting the job, and I had a 2-page spread. You
Oh,
in the Law, it was called, and I would just write about various things that I thought were pertinent to women. So that was a nice thing to be able to do while I was home with the kids and work
wow.
from home. But when I ultimately decided to go back full time, my youngest was getting older. I was looking to get back in the legal field, and I was volunteering because it was very difficult with my gap in my resume to, find a job. I volunteered at my sister's place, which is
Yes.
for a domestic violence shelter, and they had a legal department, and I would go and I would shadow the lawyers, go to court and follow them and learn about what they were doing. And that was a great experience. I enjoyed it. And through that, they connected me with Legal Services of the Hudson Valley, which is where I got offered a position as a staff attorney. And that's how I ended up starting a job there, which was really just representing domestic violence victims, which was probably the last thing I thought I would be doing, because it's a pretty tough
It
tough
is.
position. And in that place, we had so many clients that I would go to court with like a pile of files.
Oh, my God.
First in Putnam County, mostly was where I was located, and then I was up in Dutchess for a while in Poughkeepsie. So that's really how I found my way into family law, because when I decided to go up on my own, I knew what I had seen and what I felt was really important in marriage, helping people get through divorce in a better way. Then, I mean, of course, domestic violence is a whole world unto itself. It's not like, your typical divorce situation, but it prompted me to actually get on the panels. I was appointed as attorney for the child in
Wow.
Putnam and Westchester, and it was all of it. It was really a learning experience how I ended up doing collaborative because I saw as representing children in custody disputes and matrimonial divorce actions, what children went through because I would have to represent them and speak to them one on one. And, I always used to wish that couples could actually hear their children or just see their expressions as they're trying so hard not to alienate one or the other parent, or, you can tell they're feeling put in the middle. And I felt terrible having to even talk to them about these things. Little kids shouldn't have to be, speaking to an attorney about mom and dad and what's going on in their marriage and in the home. So, all of this, I guess, prompted me when I heard about collaborative divorce and the collaborative practice. I was so intrigued, and especially how it connected with mediation. I really always found that to be very much something I would be interested in. So I did the trainings, and it really just felt like the right fit for me. I mean, this is what I should have done to begin with, but it was kind of a
Got there.
circuitous route getting there, but it was meant to
Right.
be, I think. And I think my experience is something I bring to the table for clients.
Right. That
Being
perspective.
able to let them know you're doing the right thing, even if you feel like you're giving up some things, or I don't know, not getting the best deal. Look at the whole picture. Look at your children. Look at your life going forward and how this is going to benefit you having done this in this way. You're being a role model for your children, and you're impacting them going forward. And it doesn't even have to be, I mean, not everybody has kids in these situations, as we know in some of these collaborative divorces, but just that just that feeling of being able to walk away from a marriage that at one point had a lot of meaning and in your life, being able to walk away with a sense of dignity and respect for the other person, or some sense of that anyway. I know it's not always that way, but
Right.
anyway, that's my story about how
Well,
I came to collaborative.
well, thanks for sharing that. I think you bring to it a perspective that is really supportive for the clients you serve, to have that lens in which to say, hey, this is my experience through this, and informing choices that they make and helping them guide to a better future. That's a really, and that perspective as being a child attorney is really, that's very powerful.
Thank you. Yes, I'm very fortunate in my career.
Yeah. So is there, I know that you got to the family law or divorce and collaborative in a funny kind of way, but isn't that life? But is there something that you would tell your younger self to prepare for the career ahead? That if you had some guidance, you think that would be helpful for the younger you?
The younger me. Um, just I guess to just follow your heart, follow what you really feel is important to you. Don't worry so much about, well, is this going to be remunerative? Am I going to make a lot of money at this, or am I going to be good at this, or am I going to be, I think if you really follow what is truly meaningful to you, the rest will fall into place. It's not about, I'm going to be practicing in this location or that area or whatever. I think it's really, if you're doing something that matters to you, that's so important in your life. And you're very fortunate if you're able to do that, because a lot of people can't. They just trying to make ends meet and get through the day.
Yeah, to do something that you're passionate about that has meaning. That's
Yes.
great advice for sure, because then it doesn't seem so much as work. There's a lot of joy. I mean, the tough.
And fulfillment and satisfaction. Yeah. Yeah.
And getting to that, I mean, the work that we do, Margaret, is incredibly challenging. We're kind of dealing with trauma on an ongoing basis with families in crisis and that are broken and need our support. And there's a lot that we take in, right, during the day, and it's not easy, right?
Yes.
What do you do to help you kind of unpack the secondhand trauma that we get, and just so that you could be of the best service to your clients? What do you do to keep yourself sane and healthy and present?
I try and make an effort. Well, a few things. Physically, I try sometimes, I do a lot of deep breathing. I guess it's meditating, not formally meditating, but just taking that downtime to breathe, think, just clear your brain, take a walk, read a book, do a jigsaw puzzle. I'm finding a lot of fun in jigsaw puzzles. It just clears my mind.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I've been doing that a lot lately. I started in COVID and then I kind of fell away, but now with the cold weather, I'm doing it again.
That's
So
great.
I'm enjoying that. But really just
What do you do with the jigsaw puzzles? Do you like frame them?
no, I just do them, I'll leave them up on the table for a while and then just look at them and then I change it out to a new one. So, I've been doing a lot of like European countries where I dream of going to visit one of these days. I have a bucket list of various places. I just did Cinque Terre, is it? Yeah, I
Yeah.
did that one. Beautiful
Yeah.
color and
Yes, that's beautiful. That's a nice place. Oh,
yeah,
no
yeah. So
wonder.
it's fun. I do enjoy that because it allows me to think about the place that I want to go visit as I'm
I
doing
love
it.
that. I love that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
fantastic. So do you cook? Is there like a last meal or a signature dish or a signature recipe that you're,
I used to do a lot more cooking, especially since I was at home with the kids for a long time. I was into cooking, and then once I didn't have to do it anymore, I sort of fell away. But I do have a signature dish, which it was my mom's recipe. It was scalloped potatoes that actually my kids keep asking for, but I tell my husband he can make it because it takes a lot of work. It's got a lot of different ingredients and all the slicing and the peeling. I've just got so that we're bringing it to our Christmas celebration. The kids have requested it. We're going down to my son's in New Jersey, so that's a great recipe. Everybody loves it, and they always ask for it. So
okay, well, I am compiling a book, a cookbook. Would you be willing to share that
of
recipe?
course, yeah, I
Okay,
would love to.
okay, awesome.
I
And
think
you
you'd
said you have
enjoy.
kids. How many kids do you have, Margaret?
I have three children.
Yeah.
I have two sons and a daughter. My oldest guy is going to be 40 in January, which is frightening me.
Well, you look great. You're having a
And
oh,
he's an attorney. He's a partner in a firm in New York City. McDermott, Will and Emery is the name of the firm. And he does a lot of corporate litigation. My second child, my son, is 37, and he's a physician. He's a doctor. He's a pulmonologist. He was working out of Morristown Medical Center, but now they just appointed him chief of pulmonology at Summit Overlook Hospital in New
wow.
Jersey.
Congratulations.
And
Wow.
he's a hard worker as well. They each have three boys, so I have six grandsons.
Oh my God.
And then I have a daughter who's 32, my baby, and she is married and living up in Cambridge, Massachusetts. She went to school up there, met her husband at MIT, and she's an engineer. Although she's going back to school to be a teacher. She's decided
Really?
that she's going to be teaching coding. She just got a job as in an after school program while she's going to school to get her master's. She just needs one more year and she'll be certified to teach up in Massachusetts. So she's going to be teaching coding and computer stuff. That's what she was doing a lot of. So
Amazing. What an accomplished family you have of children. Yeah, that must feel really good to
it
have.
does. It really feels like looking back over your life. Been doing a lot of that lately, thinking about the future and what it holds and retirement plans and travel and just where we've been, where we started, and looking at our kids and just being happy that we were able to raise three wonderful children and have these grandkids. I couldn't ask for more. We've been very fortunate.
Amazing. And is there like for the NYCP, you've been a member for a while. Is there a memorable NYCP experience that you'd like to share, or what has the your membership in NYCP meant to you? What do you get from it?
It's been very important to me. I think the most important of the colleagues that I've come to know and other like-minded professionals such as yourself who were drawn to this, coming from totally different backgrounds, all of us, but all of us joined in the same commitment to helping people and get, utilizing this process to really assist them and keeping their families as best intact as they can on the coming out on the other side, still, separate, but working together. A lot of these parents will be co-parenting, as we say, for the rest of their lives. And it does bring me to one case actually that you were involved in, Melissa, where my client was the dad, and he was a tough guy, tough cookie. He I think he was very skeptical of the process at first. And slowly came to trust that we were there to help and work through this on the behalf of himself, his wife, and his children. And the case culminated in a great end result. They got divorced, but they ended up working together, and their kids seemed to be doing well. You and I felt, well, this was a success. And then what the point I'm getting to is that probably a year later, I heard from him, and he said, I just wanted to let you know how thankful I am for having gone through the process, and how I really didn't believe it at the time that it was really going to benefit me in any way. But
Wow.
I just went away on vacation with my ex-wife and my kids, and
Wow.
we had a great time. I'm able to talk to her. We, we're in a different place now. We're not getting back together, but we're able to be together in the room in the same place with our children, to the point where we were able, if you had told me I could take a trip and travel with her a year
Yeah.
ago, I would never have been able to even comprehend something like that. So it really felt good for him to come back and tell me and thank me
That's
for
amazing.
sticking with him through that process.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was thanks to you too, Melissa, because you are the perfect, I enjoy so much working with you, because you are such a great advocate for your client, but you have that empathy for the other spouse that is just invaluable, and really helps move these cases in the right direction, and really is you're a great role model for me. So
Well, same for me too. We all learn from each other, and it's a pleasure working with you, really.
thank you. Thank you very much.
So, yeah. So, Margaret, I like to end with just kind of in a hopeful way, where you hope to be in 10 years. Where do you hope for collaborative to be?
Wow. 10 years. I'm hoping I'll be retired.
Okay.
Um,
And traveling to Cinco.
Traveling. Yes, I have my two top bucket lists right now are Greece or Portugal.
Oh, well,
Um,
those are pretty good places. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm not sure which one, but I've been doing a lot of research.
Both.
Oh, that would be nice. Yes, yes, yes. So, yeah, I'd like to be able to, enjoy the coming years, to see my grandchildren, perhaps move closer to them. I'm in northern Westchester now, still in the house we raised our kids in, but I would assume at some point in the near future, not near future, but in the next several years, we'll be moving closer to the kids, maybe getting, traveling though, maybe living, I don't know where we will go, but a lot of people are doing the Florida thing for a few months. A lot of our friends are, kind of jumping around to different places. We'll see, but just being able to enjoy life, enjoy the next generation. And for collaborative, I'm just hoping it keeps expanding, and that people, we're able to, people like you and people coming after us, the younger generation of attorneys and professionals, financials and mental health professionals, are able to, keep this organization going, and really get the word out that this is something that people should be really educated about before they take that step to litigation, as we know, which can be such a toxic, damaging process. So um,
Sure.
that's what I hope for.
Okay, well, lovely. Well, thank you so much, Margaret. This has been so nice chatting with you.
You too, Melissa. Thank you.
Chat with you often, open disclosure, Margaret is an amazing colleague and just a great person to work with. And I'm so blessed and have much gratitude for your membership
Same
in
here. You couldn't
the
have said it any better. I mean, I feel the same about you. We're very fortunate.
we are really, and that's what it's all about. It's about connecting and helping families. And I think
Yes,
that's what passion is, and that's what we do. And how could people find you? You have like a website
I do. I do.
and it's just your name?
Yeah, margaretnicholson.com. Pretty easy.
Right. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. So thank you for spending the time with me, chatting and
Thank you for having me, Melissa, and thinking of me. I appreciate it. It was wonderful. I always enjoy sitting down and talking with you. Always
Okay.
learn something new.
Yeah, and so
I'd like
thank
to do this to you now and find out about your background and
okay.
upbringing and
Maybe one day we'll switch
yeah,
it. All
yes.
right. Thank you so much, Margaret. I
Oh,
really appreciate
thank you.
it. Thank
Take care now. Bye.
you.